world class, does flow through his every move. He does score every game. Add Craig Butler to the list of people we have to apologise to.
Yeah.
Let's bring the fucking Vitamin meter forward. Going up Leon Bailey, going up Josko Vardiol's pants over his head as Leon Bailey gives him a figurative wedgie. Like, honestly, that is the only way Leon Bailey could have embarrassed him more today.
Oh, do you want to bet against us?
That morning sky gave me a look, so I left while you were sleeping. That's all it took.
In the 15th round of a December heavyweight fight in Rocky IV, the whole world, the entire planet, probably for the first time, saw Ivan Drago out on his feet. He was bleeding, he was hurt, he was looking for air as Rocky refused to go away, hammering at his face, going for his body. Whatever Drago tried, he couldn't get away from the torture as he stumbled around the ring, the crowd on their feet in awe and exhilaration as they realised this underdog was more than just a piece of iron, as Drago called him. They knew now this was the real deal. And in that moment, the camera went tight on one person in that crowd. Adrian. Adrian, who only weeks earlier told Rocky not to do it. Adrian, who only weeks earlier told him he was retired. You couldn't bear to watch him in the thick of it anymore. Finito, as my pals on Twitter might say. Adrian, who actually said the words to him, "You can't win." But now in Russia, watching Rocky knock 7 shades of shite out of this Goliath, Adrian, unable to take her eyes off the performance, stood up and she roared, "You're gonna do it." Suddenly, Adrian was a believer. Adrian was always a believer, you see. Adrian was never going to leave Rocky's side, not through bad times, not through poor times. And we have seen it all with Aston Villa too.
Jesus Christ, I was about to explode there to talk about Villa beating Man City.
And you know what, Liam? We've seen all that through because somewhere deep down we always believed as well. And after watching City stumble out of Villa Park, the noise of the crowd still ringing in their ears, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for all the times we hurt and we came back again anyway. I'm glad we emptied up after going bust. Not going to mention Tony Zia. I remember fondly the dull days, the angry times, the sick to the back teeth seasons, because I knew one day I'd be watching a team like that, and I'd be watching a team as good as Man City falling over themselves, looking for a second to think, and I'd be watching Aston Villa one day inflicting this on them, thinking, "You're gonna do it." That was perfect.
It was absolutely perfect, and I honestly can't remember seeing Man City completely destroyed like they were tonight. They were absolutely annihilated. They were played off the park in every sense. And just think about the way we played in that game. I mean, the variability in how we were attacking. Bailey balls, straight balls, long balls, through balls, fucking big balls hanging between every one of those players' legs. And I was watching the first half thinking, I'm gonna have to have a chat with my wee brother, sit him down and explain to him that this is it. Like we've peaked in life. It doesn't get any better than this. Like I know Christmas is only around the corner. I know you got married less than 3 months ago. I know children exist in your idea of the future, but forget about all that. Like this is it. Honestly, like your child's not going to have an arse like John McGinn's kind of. Like they might give the impression of it with a nappy on under their trousers, but it's a fucking illusion. Just like the idea you can nip in and win the ball in front of McGinn's arse is an illusion. Your child isn't going to be able to shit all over Rico Lewis. They'll shit all over your living room, all right? But that's not the same thing. You're going to have to use ultra-sensitive baby wipes to clean up the mess. Do you know what Unai Emery wipes his arse with? Pep Guardiola's fucking team sheet. But like seriously, a bit of real talk here, and maybe it's something you need to talk to your wife about. Do you think your child's first words will mean as much to you as hearing Unai Emery say "up the Villa"?
Not for a fucking second. I'm going to be judging my children now. Like, I never understood, those fathers who they never played at any decent level, but they're so keen to tell their children how to do it. But the thing is, they've probably supported better teams. Now we're supporting one of those better teams. So whatever my child does, like you say, I'm just going to be shaking my head, being like, you can't hold people off like McGinn does. Yeah, I'm going to be looking at him standing over a set piece, being like, well, Douglas Luiz does it this way. Could you not try that? And then I'm going to start sticking them, and they're going to step away from football then, because every time I'd be like, why don't you just turn on the ball like Bailey does and run at him? Just go past him, like it's fine.
Oh, we've ruined ourselves.
And there was only one goal in this game. There were a lot of chances. I mean, the stats coming out of this were ridiculous. And this was a bit different, wasn't it? Because I think we were trying to savor it. We were trying to just sort of appreciate, especially the first half performance. It was unbelievable. There was one stage that Haaland actually just hoofed the ball away on the turn in his own box. And this wasn't from a set piece. He came back in open play to help out. Ended up on the ball, cleared it away. Nobody's there. He's the striker. He's Erling Haaland, the best striker in the world. It's just turning, lashing the ball away against Aston Villa. It was actually mad, the performance. We'll go into it, but the stats were at halftime. It was like Villa had 13 shots against Man City, the most that any team has ever had against a Pep Guardiola team in the leagues during the first half. And it didn't feel like, oh, it's a real shame we didn't make the most. I don't know about you, and it honestly is in hindsight. It felt like we were going to come back out and have a performance equally as competent, and we're just going to keep doing this stuff. And genuinely, it felt like we're at the table here. Like they might have a bit of control, but I trust us now. I don't feel like we're out of control in any way, and I trust at some stage we'll get the ball back and we'll just do it again.
Yeah, I mean, the start of the second half, we couldn't get a touch of the ball for the first 7 minutes. It was really frustrating. I was thinking, right, here we go. After we absolutely blew them away in the first half, I was thinking, we're reverting to the mean here now. But we weren't reverting to the mean. Man City had 2 shots, is what the stats are going to say. They had 1 chance, and the 2 shots came from the same move that they had. That was the only time they threatened us. There was one where Dougie nearly headed the ball out of play. I'm sure we'll come back to it. And went on Martinez's stomach, but that was it. They were completely blown apart. Honest, I've never seen it before. I've watched a lot of Man City games because they're never off the fucking telly, and I've never seen this happen. Like Pep Guardiola was just sitting there because he didn't know what to do. He didn't know how he was going to change the surround. He didn't know how to react to this performance. His own team weren't as good as they could have been, and the team they were playing against were just annihilating them, exploiting everything that Man City were doing wrong and just running over the top. And there was about, I would say, if you put it all together, clipped it all together, there's about 5 minutes of Man City clearing the ball to the edge of their own 18-yard box and a Villa player just collecting the ball again. It was insane.
That was in the second half. It was actually laugh out loud stuff. It just felt like they were scrambling to clear. Pau Torres would take it down and bang it forward again. It was honestly roles reversed. We had a decent team and a great run last year under Emery, but when we played Man City, it was like, they just do everything well. They keep the ball well. They control it even when it's not neat. And we were doing that to them over and over and over. The goal felt inevitable, and the goal finally came in the 74th minute. And it came like Bailey was really good all day. Bailey's obviously really exciting, gets you off your feet. But he was just holding boys off. It was like everybody was on it today. We're going to have a lot of fun in the Vitamin meter at the end of the show. But every time the ball was hit down the right wing, Bailey was in front of his man, ready to hold his man off. And this time he held his man off, and then he realized, that's Guardiola behind me again, isn't it? Let's go. Let's go, boy. And he just ran him. Guardiola was trying his best to keep up. And have you ever seen anybody create as much space with one simple turn on his right foot? And we know Bailey's going to come on his right foot. And there was about 10 yards of space in that one step. I mean, Bailey is sharp, pretty poor from a Guardiola point of view. And then this Ruben Diaz guy was getting in the way of fucking everything all evening. And I was so thankful he got in the way of this shot. Although the shot didn't look too bad, actually. And it just went into the empty net then as Ederson was wrong-footed.
Yeah, it's a good ball into Tielemans as well, though, at the start of the move. He does well to flick it because he knows he just has to get the ball to Bailey. Like, whatever way you can, just get that ball around the corner to Leon Bailey. And Conan, I owe Steven Gerrard an apology. It got to the stage last year where I was genuinely going to report Leon Bailey to the Met. Like, I wanted his phone checked, his hard drive scanned. Like, you could not convince me that Leon Bailey was not blackmailing Steven Gerrard. That was the only thing that could explain his repeated inclusion in the fucking Aston Villa team. Like, Bailey had footage of Gerrard wanking with an orange in his mouth and a belt around his neck. And listen, if Stevie G was into a bit of erotic asphyxiation, I can't blame him. Like, how could he possibly simply be aroused by his wife after he spent the fucking morning watching Leon Bailey shake his hips on the training pitch? The bar for being turned on has been raised. But Steven Gerrard wasn't being blackmailed by Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey was just playing for a shit team then. Leon Bailey was playing for a team that hadn't been coached against a team with structure. And you know when Leon Bailey was looking good? Whenever he was playing against a Steven Gerrard team in training, when it had all been equalised, when both teams were equally ineptly set up. So of course, Steven Gerrard picked him. He was fucking light. He was playing like this in training for Aston Villa. How could Steven Gerrard possibly leave him out? Now look at him, like world class, does flow through his every move. He does score every game. Add Craig Butler to the list of people we have to apologise to.
Yeah.
Let's bring the fucking Vitamin meter forward. Going up Leon Bailey, going up Josko Vardiol's pants over his head as Leon Bailey gives him a figurative wedgie. Like, honestly, that is the only way Leon Bailey could have embarrassed him more today.
He was brilliant. And once again, it was another example of a Villa player looking at the matchups and thinking, I could take him on. And I don't even mean literally take him on. I mean just over the course of a game. Like, I can get the better of him. And it felt like, once again, Villa were doing that all throughout the team. Like I said, they were all on it, but they were all extra tuned in. Okay, that's great. And I mean, every time the ball was coming, they were scanning everywhere. They knew City could be all over them. New City would have a good press. They would try and set traps. But they were all out to prove a point. This is the thing about this game. This wasn't a game where it was like, it was a brilliant performance. It was a great result. And we're getting so many great results under Unai Emery. We didn't get one under Gerrard. Like that's look, forget about it. But but all throughout this match, the Villa players were out to prove that they could compete with the very best. It felt like that. It felt like Kamara was trying to take them on. It felt like Dougie wanted to show. Dougie before the game was talking about beating Man City and Arsenal, saying like that's the standard that we want to go to. This isn't a team that wants to just compete. They actually, I feel like they now believe, because they've been set up so well, they've been coached so well, players improving to a ridiculous degree, and now they want to go out and show we can take these boys on. Not only that, we can string them up and we can do it for 95 minutes. Welcome to Villa Park.
Yeah, Bournemouth must be some little team as well, to be fair to them. Honestly, though, I think that's the best performance that I can remember seeing an Aston Villa team put in. I mean, we're playing against Man City today. Man City, some players missing, so do we. But I can't emphasize enough. Anybody who didn't see the match is not going to believe what we're talking about here. We completely obliterated them. They had 2 shots from the same move in the 7th minute and didn't have a sniff at our goal for the rest of the game. And Aston Villa were just creating chance after chance after chance and doing it in so many different ways. Yeah. Like I said there at the top, the variability in how they were doing it, punching holes straight through the middle, Torres on the ball, just drilling it into midfielder turning, Kamara shaking his hips, turning on the ball, running at them, Dougie putting his studs on the ball, balls over the top that the camera's panning around, you go, what the hell was that? Oh, we're through again. Watkins is in, Bailey's in. Absolutely ridiculous. I couldn't believe we had about 6 game plans and we implemented them all at the same time, and the players were able to carry that in their heads while they were playing against the best team in the world. Absolutely incredible.
22 shots was the final total, the joint most faced by a Guardiola side through his time managing in the top leagues. It was Borussia Dortmund out in Germany that equaled that as well. They equaled Unai Emery. That's saying something. But there was one other instance where we actually had the ball in the net as well. And I was hoping that VAR might actually... We've seen a lot of leagues now. We've seen the optical illusion. We've seen that the ball can still be in when it looks out. But it looked pretty far out. And it was a Douglas Luiz header. A great header, great leap. It was just bang on half time. It was just great passes to play. We cut through them. Like, don't forget, Man City played 6 defenders today. Man City had 6 defenders on the pitch, if we can count Rico Lewis. And Villa were just going through them when they wanted. And this was Luka Dean and John McGinn, 1-2. Watkins was played through by Kamara initially, but he sort of backheeled it back to John McGinn. But then McGinn and Luka Dean got going, and McGinn just sort of played him too far into that byline. We used to joke about him standing Luka Dean deeper down the pitch, but this time he sent him off the pitch, and it was a nice ball from Luka Dean, but Douglas Luiz's great header didn't count because it had gone out of play.
Yeah, I mean, John McGinn was playing with Alex Moreno in his own head there, wasn't he? I mean, but they went past that pretty fucking quickly, didn't they? Like, good process,
Yeah.
boys. Move on. Like, it definitely looked out of play, but so did Saudi Arabia's earlier in the season.
Yeah.
So did Japan's in the World Cup. I want more than 2 replays from dodgy angles. Give me the fucking across the line. Show me that that's out of play. And we're playing against fucking Man City. I need a bit more proof than just moving on.
Yeah. Let's take a breather. What a result. What a performance. We're going to go to WhatsApp whinges, but don't worry, we're not going to dwell too long on WhatsApp whinges. See you there. Boubacar Kamara has a couple of fines to deal with, unfortunately. Thought he was good tonight, but he did try a switch of play to Luka Dean that went straight out of play. So just find in touch with a pass, and he did it again, probably to a more extent in the second half when he took a throw in from Konza and he tried to return it to him and he hit it out of play. This is on the right hand side now as well, so can't be having that from Boubacar. Pau Torres let an Emi Martinez ball roll under his legs, go straight out of play, so Pau Torres is also getting a fine. And Emi Martinez, 94th minute free kick. I do not need to see you kicking that ball straight out of play, pal. I just need to see you putting that ball onto John McGinn's chest, and everybody else will be deflected away.
The first one, Kamara to Dean, was so annoying because we could all see that Kamara wanted to play it, but he can't play it the way he's swinging it. The only place that ball was going whenever he swung his foot at it was exactly where the fucking ball went, out of play. He was never going to be able to fade that across to Luka Dean. And he couldn't. He also couldn't take his time. It was too hard to resist because the ball was on and he was through. But it should have been easy enough to resist, to be honest. What is Martinez doing? He's got John McGinn's arse and he's got fucking John Duran's back. Pick one of them and play the ball to it.
The John McGinn shot. Now, I know John McGinn won Aston Villa's goal of the month with a shot from outside the box, but I mean the John McGinn shot, the faraway shot, the one where he's not set, the one that he's decided is shooting even before it comes to him. And I mean, he tried one. It came from a Luka Dean corner, and he's on the right, and he's pulling it further to the right into a crowd of bodies as well. Lucky he got blocked down. It was an ugly shot. Douglas Luiz wasn't far off a John McGinn shot either. At least he won a corner straight after it. And then John McGinn tried another one with his right foot this time from so far out. And there's one more John McGinn shot nomination, and it was Douglas Luiz again. So 2 each for these boys. It was brilliant play again. Villa high up the pitch, winning the ball back. Douglas Luiz nicked it in front of Alvarez. We were just reading every time Man City were trying to come out. We had so much pressure on everyone that nobody was able to just sidestep any of our players. That meant the players further down the pitch could step forward and win the ball in front of the City players. And Douglas Luiz, he had Bailey inside him, and it's because Tielemans had made a run to drag a defender away, so there was almost a man over, but he just let fly, and in that case, we maybe could have worked it, but maybe he was looking at it thinking, well, Bailey's just going to let fly anyway, so why not I try one?
Yeah, I mean, the question you have to ask there is, like, based on his performances this year, has Douglas Luiz earned the right to have that spank? And I can answer that, no, he hasn't. I mean, you're saying that Bailey was available inside, so was Tielemans, so was Watkins. The ball has to go into them. And even if it isn't, if he wants to have a shot, carry it in a little bit, though. You've got so much space. And the camera panned back to Unai Emery, or showed a replay of Unai Emery's reaction. He didn't seem too perturbed by it. He just gave it the old puffed out cheeks, like, oh, close one. It's like, what are you talking about? Tell him to calm down there, Unai. Not that Douglas Luiz needs to be told to calm down, and not that Unai Emery needs to be told how to manage.
Well, we need to continue to be very demanding of Unai. The only WhatsApp whinge I have, if I was Ezri Konsa, I wouldn't be telling anyone that I didn't touch that. Why, why is Ezri Konsa so keen to appeal his innocence, to show that he didn't touch it, to say that it only came off Phil Foden? Why is Ezri Konsa raising his hands to draw attention to the fact that he missed a header so deep in our box with Phil Foden standing right behind him? Ezri Konsa went up, tried to get the most elaborate header. Like, he tried to get a Tyrone Mings header on it, only he was doing it in the wrong direction. And he missed it. He missed it completely. And thankfully, he just hit off Foden and went out.
I thought that was just a brilliant dummy from Ezri Konsa. There's no way, like that was so elaborate, so over the top. So it was almost ironic the way he was doing it. Like it couldn't possibly be anything other than a dummy to fool poor little Phil Foden into thinking that the ball was going to be headed past him.
Mm. Well, we're going to mention another Ezri Konsa header in the Rosenthal Award, but right now we're going to take a quick breather and we'll come back with all the awards after this. Let's start with the Paul Merson. Oh, that is just filthy award, and I have got 2 nominations. One of them was when the play ended up being stopped for offside anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered, but I appreciate it nonetheless, and this is the spirit of this award. Pau Torres dinks over his own crossbar of an empty net right there with a drilled in Alvarez ball and Haaland behind him. And Pau Torres has the wherewithal to get his foot under it and just scoop it over the bar. It was lovely.
It was lovely. I think the most lovely thing about Aston Villa's offside trap tonight was the players were so confident in it tonight.
Yeah.
Like they had absolutely no. There was a couple of times where they nearly just stopped and started jogging back into position. Like they've almost stopped going through the routine of running back and tearing their hamstrings to try and block the ball because they now trust the offside trap so much. That one was particularly nice. But I don't know, Man City weren't brilliant at staying onside today by any stretch of the imagination. But I just thought that was so incredible to see them how confident they were in playing the line.
This is the thing though, right? Because I think if you look back at some of the games, and if you go into the opposition Twitter, fan Twitter, you'll see like Spurs, for example, people pointing out, complaining that their player didn't play the ball a second earlier. Today, the commentators are pointing out that Haaland didn't play a ball earlier to Foden, and in one sense they're right, right? But if you look at it, when Haaland has the option to play the ball, Konza is running. Like, Konza's aware that this ball might go in behind me. Then when Haaland doesn't play it, Konza stops. He stops and lets Foden run on, and then Foden stops, and then Foden has to delay it, and then he's like, he knows he's offside and he's chasing after the ball anyway. And there were so many of that where Haaland stopped running as well then because he knew he was caught. And it's the players, like you say, it's the confidence. It's magical to watch, and it only works because they are willing to go as well, and they're ready to go. It's not that they're willing to go. It's they know when they have to go in and they know when they can't step. It's because they're watching the player on the ball the whole time. And when they see that he's delayed, and they can step up, then it's like they have eyes all over it. It's amazing.
Yeah, even the comment. Who were those commentators, or who was that analyst today? Like, watching that and saying he has to play it there. The ball's under Haaland's feet, and Konza is in a perfect position to cut out the pass that he thinks can be played. It's absolutely. It was. Do you know the reason he said he has to play it there was because Foden was onside, but the pass isn't on.
The only other nomination I have for the Paul Merson, that's just filthy award, was the Tielemans drag back out to Konza. That was filthy. It was great. He's got his back to goal, the ball's drilled into him, and he lets it come in the instep of his right foot, brings it around behind his left heel and flicks it out to the right wing. It was glorious stuff. Maybe taken away ever so slightly because he tried it again a few minutes later. but in isolation, the bit of skill deserves praise.
Yeah, and he praised it himself in his own head and tried it again a few minutes later. But there was one in the first half as well when Tielemans was out in the right wing and he dragged it back into his own feet, brought 2 Man City players with him, and then just toe poked it in between them again and carried on, rolled it back to Pau Torres, I think. But it was just delicious to see that, just the composure. Man City thought they had a press on, they thought they had jumped at the right time at Tielemans, and he just made them look like mugs.
There were a couple of other things, like with Bailey's feet, just stepping away from people, stepping over, sort of having them on a string, really. Definitely having Vardio spread on toast, the poor fucker.
He
But
had the fucking ball on a string. The man's feet were absolutely insane. The
yeah,
ball, like I can't emphasize enough how quickly he was moving his feet and controlling that ball. It looked like the ball was gone from him, and all of a sudden he's just got it on his right toe again,
yeah.
and he's dropping it in between his legs. Looks like it's behind him, but he's still managing to control it. Like he's just staring straight ahead, like fucking Michael Flatley, but only he's got a fucking ball on his feet. Way more impressive.
He was on it. Then there was a couple of times like we'll talk a bit more maybe, well, definitely about McGinn's arse later, but like just so many times because his arse always buys him extra seconds. It lets him turn it all the way. Like if Joe McGinn decides he wants to hold the ball under whatever pressure for 15 seconds, he can do it. And if he decides he wants to run in any direction under whatever pressure, he can do it. And there were so many times where Bernardo Silva, who was getting a bit bullied by John McGinn, let's be fair, he was getting a bit ratty like he tends to do. And then he's diving in there and he's trying to leave something on him. He's trying to win the ball back. And him just watching him, like just nudging him to the side of him to keep the ball away from him. And then stepping around him, just dragging the ball left foot to right foot and then running inside. It was incredible how many times that happened.
Bernardo Silva trying to leave something on you. It's like cycling into a fucking blue bottle, Connor. That's about the amount. You noticed that?
I'm going to give the winner to Tielemans anyway, though it was just the most standout. Wow. And it was probably the most Paul Merson of them all as well.
Absolutely.
Let's do the Rosenthal Award. There were a lot of chances. We talked about the stats earlier, but the first one comes from Leon Bailey. Ball over the top from John McGinn. Do you think McGinn knew that Bailey was an option there? Was he looking for Watkins? Anyway, Watkins leaves it because he's offside, and Bailey doesn't leave it. He chases up, and the first touch isn't ideal. It's fine, but I think he's sort of rushing it. He's just expecting to be under a bit more pressure than he is. He doesn't use Watkins inside him. His shot is low, just not enough on it. I think he wanted to pull it across. You could see when you look at the replay, but he just didn't catch it the way he wanted to.
I think given how John McGinn played tonight and how everybody played tonight, you have to believe that was a pass to Bailey. Otherwise, it was an absolutely atrocious pass to Watkins.
Yeah.
And it's a big, big chance. I mean, he gets it on the stronger right foot, but the touch just, yeah, you're right, it isn't really good enough, really. To give himself a massive chance. I'm glad he shot, though. I don't like players dicking around whenever they get into that position and thinking, oh, it's not perfect, so I better not shoot. Like I've said before, sometimes it's better to just get the shot away. And there was no dicking around from Bailey at all tonight. The movement of the ball whenever dribbling wasn't the best option was incredible. The first time passes he was playing and shooting, the shots he was taking on, the understanding that the move had kind of broken down a little bit and then having the spank anyway. It was all absolutely spot on. And there's one even just before that as well. It was Luca Dean got put in down the left and he ended up having a spank. And I don't mind it at all. Like sometimes the move has broken down, didn't work out as you would have liked, but you can still get the shot away anyway. It's not an ideal shot, but when you've got a left foot as good as Lucas, why not have the shot? And you could see Ederson wasn't set either, and Ederson's kind of left his front post there to be hit by Luca, and it's not a bad effort.
Liam, will I give our listeners a little peek behind the curtain of production because I had that Luca Dean effort in WhatsApp winges, but in the spirit of tonight, I didn't feel like whinging too much, but it went, and I'll just read it out now. Sure, why not? It went, the one time Luca Dean doesn't put it on a plate for someone, Watkins has an open net if he just drills it across. I feel like he could have just drilled that across.
I think that was well defended by Martin Tyler's hero, Ruben Diaz. I mean, I don't think the angle is there for the cross, and I think the ball hasn't moved quickly enough, so I think he is right to have the shot.
Diaz is very good, in fairness. It reminded me it reminded me of Van Dijk playing against Villa, or not Villa, playing against Ireland at some stages there where he was the one person just always getting in the way, foot thwarting. I'm saying that as if Ireland were hammering down the door against. Look, let's leave Gerrard aside, let's leave Ireland aside, let's enjoy ourselves for fuck's sake.
Let's enjoy ourselves for fuck's sake. Just like future Ireland manager Steve Bruce would say.
Don't. The second nomination for the Rosenthal Award was Pau Torres, so it's a lovely John McGinn pass. It's after a corner. It's a decent strike of his instep, but maybe he just hesitated for a second too long, just allowed Ederson to read it. By the time he does hit it, Ederson sort of stepped across it. In hindsight, look, we were all looking at that top left corner. And we all knew Pau Torres. If anybody can do it, Pau Torres can whip it in. But in hindsight, maybe it would have been better just drilling it for the near post in, considering just the delay in hitting it.
Yeah, like McGinn looks like he's trying to fill a fucking graduated cylinder, getting down to make sure the meniscus was level before he played that pass. It was so strange. And Big Pau looks like he was in danger of tearing his meniscus. The effort he's putting in to try and run around that ball to bend it into the top corner, and that's what gives Ederson the chance because it was so obvious what was happening.
Yeah, Man City had a chance in this game. Martinez made a big save on Haaland. Haaland's left foot. He read it, like we're talking about Ederson reading it. He read that like an open book. And then the ball comes across then for the header, and Martinez saves it. And like the beauty of this is he's diving backwards. We talk about 3D Martinez, and he's diving back, gets two big palms on it. Lovely touch from Pau Torres, and to take it away from two City players who are around the line, and he just takes it out, and he actually pokes it out to Bailey, who's holding a man off then on the right wing. Great, just great stuff. But great save from Martinez, who was up celebrating no sooner than he had kept it out of the net. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it's too easy for Foden initially, though. He just runs by Konza and Tielemans. I'm not sure what has happened there. And then Elizabeth Taylor loses his man again. And for some reason, the best centre forward in the league is just running straight through on goal. And I think what was this, about 7 or 8 minutes in? It was their first and last chance.
Yeah.
But at that moment, I was thinking, Jesus Christ, am I have to watch 90 minutes of Paaland just running into 15 yards of space? What the fuck? Two good saves from Martinez. You're right to draw attention to the touch from Torres for the second one. Absolutely ridiculous. And it'll tell you how good a footballer Pau Torres is that Martinez is celebrating as the ball is landing at Torres' foot because he knows the danger is cleared.
They did have another chance, but they didn't make anything of it. It was poor Phil Foden catching fresh air. Poor Phil Foden doing his best Aston Villa Dark Days impression. Card sent us a tweet saying other teams do it too. They missed the ball. Phil Foden missed that ball like Unai in a batting cage down in Galway, trying to hit a baseball with a baseball bat. Just poor timing, poor coordination.
Yeah, the commentators didn't really dwell on that too long. They just kind of said, he was trying to decide whether or not he was going to side-foot it or smash it, and he tried to smash it and missed it and moved on.
The ball
him off.
Past him. The ball was past him by the time he tried to swing his leg. That's what it reminded me of. You know, when you're playing, you're trying to hit the baseball, and you don't understand why. You're like, I know I can do this, but the ball's actually past you by the time you can engage your brain to swing your arm to swing the bat. And the ball's gone. That's what Phil Foden. I should not be comparing Phil Foden to me swinging a baseball bat.
I'd say if he swung 10 times at that, though, Conley wouldn't miss it 10 times.
Dem Villa had all their chances in the match, genuinely. Leon Bailey. Initially, I had written down he ignored Tielemans' run to his right. This is from the Konza ball. But the commentator said it wasn't a great ball. It was a lovely little scoop over the top into space, into Bailey as well. And Bailey just takes his time getting under control, but he does because he's doing all sorts with his feet. Tielemans burst a gut to get up to the right, but Guardiola sort of stepped off to watch that run. Bailey just let fly himself with his left foot. And then lovely Douglas Luiz free kick, and Courtney Konza gets up and heads it as high as he can. That's a reference to Courtney House's 50p head, if nobody's following that, but terrible header from Konza.
Yeah, the Bailey one, the first touch is absolutely disgustingly good. And then Watkins is off to his left as well, and he's desperately trying to run into an offside position. And initially, I thought it was just shite centre forward play, but now I know he was just trying to make sure that Bailey didn't try to pass him the ball because all he knew which pony he was betting on today. That pony was Leon Bailey. I'll get out of the way, make sure I'm offside, so Leon Bailey, who's a fucking genius as well as a brilliant footballer, won't try to play me the ball. He'll just take it himself and have a spank with decent effort. Good save. The Konza header and another incredible ball from Douglas Luiz. What was McGinn doing actually there? Looked like he was auditioning for fucking Pete Tong standing in front of Ederson and then just drifts out to the back post. And I thought, brilliant, he's completely free. They haven't followed him.
Yeah.
They've looked in, thought, that lad's yipped off his head. Why would we bother marking him? And then he's just drifted out to the edge of the box and been left alone.
Yeah. There were two other nominations towards the end of the first half. It was a lovely play from Luca Dean to John McGinn, and he does a little pitching wedge over the top to Luca Dean, who's gone on down the left again, and He chips it inside for a Leon Bailey volley. He catches it horribly, and then there's a cock up in the center of defence. I think it was Guardiola, bit of Bailey pressure. Tielemans is blocked down. Ederson was scrambling. Maybe Tielemans could have gone a bit faster. I don't know. And yeah, you think so?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Big Bailey putting Guardiola under pressure, and I just wonder, was it there for the first touch? Like, should he have tried to shoot with his first touch? I don't know. Does he need to take it? Did he realize that Ederson was not covering his goalposts at all? I don't know. I think he just takes the touch, thinking it's just a normal attack, and then he realizes, and he's kind of panicking, and trying to get it on his left foot to shoot. And it's a really good recovery from Guardiola. But I think it was there for just the first time shot.
Probably my winner. It was in the second half. It was John McGinn, and it's a winner because he did such good work. I'm praising Ruben Diaz there, how good he was, how influential he is, and how annoying he is. And then McGinn just steps right him. He just pretends like he's shooting on his left, comes into his right, walks past him, and it's almost like he has too much time. It's a lovely Bailey ball who's intercepted. Jesus, Leon Bailey was fucking brilliant, but he's played it across to John McGinn, and he's just dummied Ruben Diaz, walks around him, and it's on his right foot. And you think it's going, and it reminded me a bit of Wes Hoolahan, where it was almost too easy. He just walked into the box. Wes Hoolahan against Italy, that time where he had that massive chance before they actually scored in the Euro 2016. And yeah, McGinn, you're just looking at the bottom corner, waiting for it to nestle in, but his right foot wasn't on it today.
Yeah, it makes Martin Tyler's hero, Ruben Diaz, looked like a fucking post box. It was so pathetic. I can't believe how easily it was turned. Maybe he knew how bad John McGinn's right foot was and just thought he's not going to turn on to his right, does he? John McGinn? No way.
And then Dougie got onto the end of a blocked Watkins shot really well. It reminded me of John McGinn in the championship playoff final, following in on a shot that's deflecting in and the keeper coming out. Only this time the keeper's good, and it's a great save from Ederson as Dougie tries to hit it in a tight angle. And then Dougie off the post. We're saying there, has he earned the right to let one of these shots fly? And geez, he almost did. He almost did earn the right. It was a nice shot, covered well by Ederson, but it's whipped around him. And again, just lovely play. Look at Dean again, actually. Look at Dean into Watkins. And the first time layoff, again, from Ollie Watkins. How many times are we saying this over the last few weeks? Just him nicking the ball off the runners, just knitting everything together so well.
Yeah, the first one from the deflection, I mean, it's just the pressure. This is what we're talking about at the top. The pressure on and off the ball, just in their faces, making them panic. This is the 5-minute period where I don't think they cleared their 18-yard box. We've cleared it with one clearance. They couldn't get the ball out, scuffed it, picked up by Bailey, picked up by Torres. And when we inevitably won it back, it's not a great shot. And I think Douglas Luiz actually does really well to get onto it. He doesn't make a bad connection with it at all. Initially, I thought it was a shit connection, and that's why he booted it away in anger when it went out for the corner. But it's actually just a brilliant save from Ederson. He does really well to cover the space. And we'd be talking about Martinez for about 5 minutes if that was him. Maybe we wouldn't, because we expect it from him. And then the one off the post, oh my God, the patience of that man, the confidence just to turn down the shouts of 40,000 people. Every time he gets the ball, the shouts to ask him to shoot. And it happened twice in this very move. And he turned it down twice. And then eventually he got it and it was set. And the crowd did shout. It seemed to take Dougie by surprise that it was on. There was no pressure on him at all, which made Man City look absolutely ridiculous as well. You can't give Douglas Luiz that amount of time just to pick his scores from corner kicks, for God's sake.
I've got John McGinn as the winner. Really a lot of big chances for Villa, but I think that one might have been the biggest. A lot of good work to make the big chance, but it was there for him then.
Yeah, either that or Ezri Konsa missing a header from a yard and a half out.
Yeah, 50p head Konsa. The Peter Enkelman What the Fuck Award, only one nomination, not really a big one, really. His ball over the top. Watkins gets in behind. Diaz is on him, so he's looking at the support runners coming in, and he just drills it at John McGinn's gonads. McGinn's coming flying into the box, and he just hammers it at him, and McGinn just takes it, and he's like, what is that? Put it on McGinn's head. We know what he can do with that.
Yeah, I'm surprised John McGinn didn't try to head that, because that was just as ridiculous as any of the headers he had during the Gerrard reign. But we're not going to go back to the Gerrard reign.
Yeah.
That kind of reminded me of the one whenever we were playing together and you were on the right wing and you just drilled the ball into my feet. And I was like, what the fuck? And just opened my foot and had a shot, because there was absolutely nothing I could do with it. And it just side footed, went flying into the bottom corner. Looked like a screamer for me, but it was just because I didn't trust myself to take a touch from your ridiculous pass. And whenever John McGinn didn't do that, initially I was like, oh, why didn't he just shoot first time? Then I saw the replay and thought, that's why.
Just elevating people around me. Let's give Unai Emery some proper praise here. The Tim Sherwood, we played 2 number 10s and bamboozled them award. The high line, we talked about it there already. Maybe we don't need to go into too much, but it just allows us to press up. We turned the ball over so much. I think the stat was we turned it over 13 times in the Man City half. That is ridiculous, and that is the most ever by an opposition team against Man City in the Premier League or a game for Pep Guardiola. Like, they were just flustered. They were absolutely rattled. They didn't know where to go. They were trapped in, and it's all because we're playing that high line. People can point it out. They can say it's dangerous. I think people are starting to realize, like, this isn't a coincidence now. We're 15 games into the season. They've caught people offside more than 20 times at the second best team, and Postecoglou's big high line. Like, it's incredible what they're doing. It's obviously so well coached. It's a fixture of all his teams. All his old players praise it. Like, it's just a joy to, and the fans now, every time a player's caught offside, the ironic cheers. It's just like, you mugs, you got caught again. Everybody knows now how effective this is.
Yeah, it's strange as well that people were, particularly your pals in the media, were so keen to point out how dodgy it was. And like, have we ever conceded a goal from a ball over the top? It doesn't really seem like something that's happened that many times that we need to be, it was ever something that should have been part of the commentary about Aston Villa. It certainly didn't happen anymore than we scored from balls over the top. You know, it wasn't a big anomaly in our defending. It's like, oh, if only they would stop playing that high line, they would concede less goals.
Yeah.
It's just really, really lazy analysis where they weren't looking at the totality of it. They weren't looking at the fact that in 2023, Aston Villa have 23 wins behind only Man City's 26 wins. You know, this is absolutely ridiculous that you'd bother pointing this out. That is how Aston Villa play. So why is it an issue, seeing as Aston Villa are brilliant?
The Tim Sherwood, the second nomination for it, the balls into midfield, like those brave, I would call them City-esque passes, Arsenal-esque balls, just angled. There's angled balls when the defenders are coming out, the fullbacks are coming out, even the centre midfielders are turning, and they're not afraid to just ping it 15, 20 meters further forward inside to somebody with a player up their backside, and they're all brave enough to pass it and they're brave enough to receive it. It's just, and I know this takes incredible amount of coaching individually, system wise, making players better in general as well. But like, it's almost a bit of vindication. Sometimes we spend so long watching football thinking, can we not just pass the ball to each other? And it turns out you can. A really good manager can get them to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we have conceded 2 goals from this recently enough, from Kamara and and Diego Carlos cock-ups. One from the defender playing the ball out, one from the midfielder receiving it poorly. But it's also definitely worth it. because it's how we play. It's so effective. It gets us out of traps. It gets us to keep possession. It gets the other team pushed back 20 meters because they've tried to press. It hasn't worked. Now we've got the ball and a position of space because just one pass into the midfielder and one pass bang back out to the fullback.
The last nomination, and I think it's the winner of the Tim Sherwood we played 2 number 10s and bamboozled them award. I don't know if you've noticed this before about Villa, but nobody's bitching and moaning at each other. It is such a great thing about this team. Nobody's complaining. They're willing to run even when they don't get the ball, and they're willing to run back when they don't get it. They're willing to put in the yards. They're willing to drag another defender away. They're willing to just put in the yards going forward. And when a player doesn't pass it when they should, there's none of that usual stuff that you would see on a football pitch. Just players, their hands out, turning away, hands in the sky, wanting people to see that they'd made the effort. Doesn't matter. You just continue making the effort. It's pure honesty. This team, pure honesty and a complete understanding that we're just going to keep doing this as well. And maybe when it gets, like, I know I'm very aware that a few months ago I was saying they're not complaining enough at Matt Cash. And maybe when it gets to that stage, they have, said to him, come on, what are you doing? They're obviously getting a bit pissed off, but it's not toxic in any way. It just seems like a squad of positivity and players willing to put in the yards because they know now, and that's the most effective thing of any management team that they could create is when players get it into their head. If I work hard, I'll get rewards because I trust in everything we're doing here now. And this, I think, is one of the biggest endorsements of the Unai Emery camp is that there's no bitching and moaning amongst the players.
Yeah, I think a really good illustrative example of this is whenever Tielemans did try the back heel again, and rather than just going, "Oh, what the fuck are you playing at?" I think Konza closed down the Man City player. The clearance is then shit, and I think Bailey wins it back at the corner of the box, and a chance is created. I can't remember which chance it is that comes from that, but we definitely did something with the ball. Maybe it was Bailey had the shot and it was blocked out for a corner. But what that shows you is if you are going to complain to your teammates, wait for the ball to be dead and run as hard as you can, as hard as you would have done if the ball hadn't been played well into you. And then you won't have to complain because you more likely than not will end up winning the ball back anyway. And a chance will come. It just won't be the chance you have been expecting 2 seconds ago. But once you start complaining, once you start dropping your head, once you start rolling your eyes, flicking your head back to the heavens, letting everybody know that your teammate's a cunt, that's when your team starts to disintegrate. That's when you'll actually have a proper reason to complain because you won't have gotten a chance because the move will have broken down and it'll be your fucking fault. If everybody agrees not to be a cunt, then the team functions a lot better.
Put that on a placard, put it on a poster, stick it on the wall. If everybody agrees not to be a cunt, the team functions a lot better. The Ashley Westwood, he was playing award. I've got 3 nominations. Could have had more, but I've narrowed it down to 3. We were worried that Erling Haaland wouldn't get his suspension, that he was so old after his antics at the weekend. We tried the campaign online, it didn't work. The PGMOL didn't Haaland didn't get suspended, but it didn't seem like he was there anyway, so it was absolutely fine. I've got a Kanji as well, and I've put down Bernardo Silva too, just because he's obviously way more prevalent usually in games, and he was so peripheral, even though he huffed and puffed. So it wasn't like I didn't notice him in that sense, but I definitely didn't notice him having an impact on the ball.
He wasn't on the ball at all. It was actually insane. And maybe we watch back the match, we'll see that we had targeted him. We had targeted the pressure around him. We definitely targeted the pressure around Rico Lewis anyway. That was absolutely so obvious. Even Pau Torres came running 5 yards out of defense 3 times to just take the ball or try to take the ball off Rico Lewis. I think all those nominations are spot on. Yeah, Kanji got moved into midfield. He was non-existent. Whenever he was in defence, the ball was just getting lifted over his head non-stop. It was incredible how not in the game he was. And I think that was actually what made your and Martin Tyler's hero look more effective. It was because we were running against him. And the reason we were running against him is because Ruben Diaz isn't the fucking be-all and end-all that you and Martin Tyler seem to think he is. It's because he's not as fast as a Kanji, so of course you're going to be playing on his shoulder more than a Kanji's. And who was the other person? Ironically, I can't remember who the third nomination was. Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland had those 2 chances, fucked them up at the start, and that was the last we heard of him.
The John Gregory, if I had a gun, I would have shot him quote of the week. It has to go to Pep Guardiola after Man City's draw with Spurs at the weekend before the Villa game. Pep Guardiola came out and said, "My feeling today, we're going to win the Premier League." People don't believe it because we've had 3 draws, but yeah, we're going to do it again. Hasn't aged that well. Now I'm saying it might age better towards the end of the season. We know City are going to win 20 games in a row come February to May. But in terms of these midweek games now in the middle of Christmas, 3 days later, can't be getting that salty and then get your arses so firmly handed to you like that.
Yeah, if that's what Pep Guardiola's saying before the match, why is Pep Guardiola turning up to Villa Park doing his best Gareth Southgate impression? Fucking 6-3-1 formation. I haven't seen anything that defensive since since I last watched a Pep Guardiola press conference. I mean, does Pep Guardiola watch football? Like, I'm sure if we ask some of your pals in the media, like they'll tell me he doesn't, because he doesn't want to be infected with old ideas. He wants fresh ideas to flourish. He wants a blank canvas so he can innovate. Fucking blank canvas. I was like watching Celia Jimenez trying to touch up the Mona Lisa. It was pathetic. Rico Lewis and John Stones as your midfield too. Are you taking the fucking piss? We've got Douglas Luiz and Boubacar Kamara. We've got Tielemans and McGinn tucking in. Like, what the fuck do you think you're playing? You can't. The arrogance, that's just not arrogance. It's stupidity. It's not arrogance. It's like all your pals in the media saying he overthinks it. That was just thinking poorly again. Rico Williams and John Stones against our midfield. What in the name of Christ was that?
Rico Lewis, like, it's even funnier that you call him
I can't even fucking remember
Williams.
his name.
It was strange. Like, they played 6 defenders, like you're talking about. Rico Lewis, John Stones, Akanji, Vardiol, Ruben Diaz, who was brilliant, and Kyle Walker. And that's what they served up. Like, thoroughly underwhelming. Oh, birds and on disrespectful. Like you say, they have no concept of who they were coming up against. They have no concept of how well they can hold the ball, of how much John McGinn and Tielemans are going to be pushing on into number 10's positions, how easily Villa are going to pass through the lines, and they didn't adjust. Like you say, he just sat there almost like seemingly complaining about his players.
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. And I don't want to fall into the trap that everybody in the media will talking about how Man City underperformed today, because the big key today, and you've mentioned it already, was how effective the Villa players were at implementing that incredibly effective game plan that Unai Emery had. Like, I've never seen a Villa performance where every player was so on it, so plugged in, and so willing to take the ball in every situation. You can see it, sometimes they were turned down by their teammates, but they were coming out and asking for the ball when they had players up their hole. They didn't care. Give it to me, because I trust that my teammate will be there to receive it from me once you give it to me in a tricky situation.
Let's just do the Lyman meter. Let's just do it. The heart is bursting with pride. Like, it's hard not to be proud after that performance. I would have been so proud of it regardless of the result. They really put it to them. They dominated them. They were amazing, and we could just go through the whole team. But I don't know who's not going up, but there's some individual things that I want to point out. And the first one is Diego Carlos not diving as a form of defending, which we've called out players for doing before, and Erling Haaland is all over him on the left flank, and he's every right to just go down and maybe when he's free, and he refuses to do it. He is standing up to that man because he knows as well the oxygen the crowd will get off that, and he stands up to him, and he eventually wins the free, and Haaland is rattled at that point. And Jesus, let's be honest, we were saying that we just need to get Carlos out of there, more so to put Konza at centre back, but it worked all right today, I must say. 3 days later, it worked all right.
Maybe Unai was just building up to this standoff. Maybe his body needed Diego's power, Diego's strength, and Haaland was so rattled by that one that a couple of minutes later, when the ball was over in the right flank, whenever the two of them were tussling again, Haaland dives immediately, backs into Carlos and just throws himself to the ground. And the referee, who was pretty good today, bought it straight away. It was like he was desperate to give him a free kick. Like, he wanted him to have that chance because that was the only chance they were going to get in the game. And I think that might have been the one that Douglas Luiz nearly headed past the post.
Yeah.
But yeah, Diego Carlos was incredible. What a performance. The only thing he did wrong was whenever we centred at the start of the second half. And I know we don't want to go into the negative award here, Connor, but that is definitely the what the fuck award from the start of the second half. A routine from the start of the centre half that involves Diego Carlos hammering the ball an inch off the ground straight to a Man City midfielder while the rest of our team is pissing up the pitch.
That free, though, that you're talking about as well, that Haaland dived for and just bounced into Emi Martinez's hands with Douglas Luiz flying past him. I don't know. Did Martinez look like he didn't know where that ball was, and it just nestled into his, and obviously he just caught it because he's got reactions like a cat, and it just, the way it landed in his basket, he just looked at Douglas Luiz to say, "What the hell happened there now?"
That is definitely what it looked like, all right. And I would easily believe that Martinez reacted to that in a split second, that his hands reacted quicker than his brain did.
Konza was really good in right back. You can't don't let it be lost on anybody watching these games. Ezri Konsa's Villa's best centre back, and he drops the shoulder and goes by people. He drives forward. He's so good on the ball. He can hold people off. He can get out of sticky situations. He's doing such a good job at right back when he's there as well.
Yeah, and I think that's now the third manager who has been tempted and toyed with the idea of playing Ezri Konsa at right back. They're not all idiots. One of them is, and I think the reason I think the reason they can't resist it is because of the pace, the power, the ball control that he also has. All those attributes that make him such a good centre half translates so easily into right back as well. His calmness on the ball. Yeah, he's just a brilliant, brilliant footballer. Con.
Martinez is going up clean sheet against the champions. Made 2 big saves. In fairness, when they only had their 2 chances. Big celebration after the game, getting the crowd going. Got Pau Torres going up. I just love him on the ball. He's brilliant. And then I think really want to talk about though is John McGinn's arse is going up, and unbelievably so. You'd think there's no more room for that to go up, but it's going up. It's like something out of a computer game, like Smash Brothers or Mortal Kombat. John McGinn, it sends out shockwaves. It's like one of these punches to the ground. It sends out shockwaves. It sends everybody flying. They all fall to the ground because his arse is just boom, 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 boom. It's just like Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong slaps the ground, and it sends out those shockwaves and hurts everyone. He's like Donkey Kong also has a sizable arse, like John McGinn. He's got an incredible arse like John McGinn. And this was like we used to, Jesus, like this used to be the bane of our life. McGinn thinking he can use his arse in any situation, but like it's a long time since it's been a negative, really.
Oh yeah, no, John McGinn's arse is only a positive. Just add it to the list of attributes that he's got. And it's a very, very. But whenever we're talking about Aston Villa off air, and we're just saying, are Aston Villa honestly just going to go through the season just passing the ball into midfield and passing the ball to their forwards? How are they getting away with this? Why does this seem so simple all of a sudden? It's the same thing with John McGinn. How have other teams not figured out that John McGinn is just going to roll them? Like, I've asked before, what can't they resist? His arse is not good. Like, come on.
So I actually have a theory right now. I think when other teams are analysing Villa, they see what they're doing, they see that they're passing through the lines that stop that happening. But their idea of stopping it happening is, bang, we've got a player on him there. That's it, stopped. But it's not when it's John McGinn because because of his arse, and especially when it's Bernardo Silva, he'll just hold him off and he'll eventually turn around, or he'll go another way if he has to. It's not when it's Douglas Luiz because he can just shimmy away. Same with Boubacar Kamara, beat Leon Bailey. I think they think when they're doing their analysis, when they pass it there, we have a player there. But that's not it. Stopped. You have to stop these players in individually, and they're also willing to take people on individually, and then that just frees up other players, and then before you know it, you're scrambling for 90 minutes, and you're just happy the full-time whistle went.
And just like the variability in Villa's attacks as well, like it really emphasised by those 4 midfielders as well. Leon Bailey's feet. Like, how can you stop that? You can't. Like, Leon Bailey's feet are moving faster than the human eye can process. Douglas Luiz getting his studs on the ball. That means he can go in any direction. Can't do anything about that. We've talked about Dua Lipa's hips that are attached to Boubacar Kamara for some reason. And then John McGinn just eating you up with his arse. Incredible.
We talked about Bailey loads, but he's definitely going up. I think I started the season, we got hammered to Newcastle in fairness, but it was like, how have we gotten to a 3rd season with Leon Bailey? I am so happy that I was so wrong about that. I'm so happy that we just let Unai cook with him in the kitchen for a little bit, and now this is the finished product. This is a serious footballer. Watkins is going up. This is the very definition of the Weimann meter, the Andres Weimann I could never hate you meter, to give it its full title. Ollie Watkins just soldiering there for 90 minutes, doing that big job up front, competing with the like of Ruben Diaz, but laying in chances, knitting it together, like I said, putting himself about. Just a big, honest performance from him.
Yeah, it was a really good performance from Ollie Watkins today. Couple of shit passes played to him as well. A lot of passes were really good, but some of them as well. I was like, yeah, come on, lads. I mean, I know Liam doesn't rate Ruben Diaz as highly as Conan does, but he's not a fucking mug. If you give him a 5 meter head start, Ollie Watkins isn't going to close down that space. But that didn't deter Ollie Watkins from trying to close down that space, and he kept running, kept going all fucking night as he always does. I could never hate him, except maybe whenever he's got a header 2 yards out.
I've never seen Ederson hit as many balls away as well. And that's not just because of Watkins. A lot of great pressure from Watkins, good angle of pressure, but it's just because every player's being taken up as well by an Aston Villa player up the pitch, and the Man City players are being pushed further and further into their own half because the high line is so aggressive. It's brilliant. Anybody else in particular that you want to highlight?
Tielemans is really good today as well. Kamara, brilliant. Douglas Luiz, brilliant. Look at Dean put in a great shift. Quality of his crossing wasn't as brilliant as it normally is, but Jesus, you could just trust him in there today as well. His understanding of the offside trap was perfect. Sometimes he looked like he was going to be isolated, and then just one of our midfielders came back. But even when he did look like that, when it looked like it might be Bernardo Silva and Kyle Walker up against him, the body positioning he was taking up looked like it shut down the two of them, that the option wasn't a 2-on-1 situation ever. I thought he defended brilliantly today. And I think that's probably the whole team as a comment.
I think you might be right. I also had the referee going up. He deserves credit. We cry enough about the referees. I thought he was actually very good. And I have Kyle Walker going up because he was tripped by Ollie Watkins. And he just bounced up and he helped Ollie Watkins up when it looked like, did Watkins need to come in like that? And you look at the replay, Watkins doesn't catch him at all. He just trips him with his heel then because he's trying to come into the side to get the ball. So it's just one of those ones where you're just happy that the player's up, and it's not even just because the player got up and got on with it. It's just because actually the ball's back in play 2 seconds later from a non-event. So we need pointing out, and Kyle Walker needs praising for it.
Kyle Walker saved us a minute of our lives where we're actually doing something we enjoyed, and what we don't enjoy is watching a dickhead roll around the ground pretend to be injured.
The only person I have going down is Austin McPhee. There was a changing room picture afterwards, a glorious changing room picture, sums up exactly how we're all feeling. Right, everybody just loves each other tonight, and Austin McPhee isn't in the picture, and I really wanted him front and center. I wanted a Jason Tyndall on this. I thought Austin McPhee's getting enough mentions in the media now. They're all talking about
the
him.
Fucking commentary, Martin Tyler wouldn't shut up about him tonight.
Unbelievably so, and this is incredible because we're talking about his corner stats, and his corners today were a bit annoying. I'm not going to dwell on them though. But
we didn't have corners. We haven't scored from a corner. That was the weird. Every time we had to, they've got a brilliant set piece coach here. I think if Austin McPhee cut his hair, nobody would give a fuck about him. I think it's just so noticeable. That's why people talk about him so much.
Well, he wasn't noticeable in the changing room picture though. I was so disappointed not to see him there with a big grin right in the middle, all the players around him, and I was dreaming of one day a management team of Jason Tyndall and Austin McPhee just to see who would actually hog the most headlines.
There was actually one chance we did get from a corner where the ball got trickled in and it went all the way to the back post for a left-footed volley. I'm not sure who had the volley, but it was blocked down. It was blocked down because all the players were dragged into the goalkeeper's line and onto the line of the goalposts. And then somebody was just free to have a spank, but obviously it got blocked down. And then I was thinking, that must be why we've been shooting from the last 98 corners for that one moment where everybody would be sucked in under the post and we can just play it to 6 yards out. Brilliant. What a genius.
What a genius is right. In that picture, though, we did have Emery Buendia there, just jumping up and down with the boys. Not jumping up and down too hard, I hope not. But good to see him there. Big grin on his face, big smile. It's all coming together so well. As Unai Emery said afterwards, hopefully we'll have many more nights like tonight. Villa Park going up as well. The fans were unbelievable. The noise, everything about tonight was just... I was just beaming with pride watching it. I was just a culmination of all my years supporting Aston Villa. Culmination of all my years slogging through life. And tonight, I got to
did it for you, Conan.
I got to sit on a Wednesday and just enjoy the most complete performance against the treble winners, the Champions League winners. Absolutely knocked them back down the road, embarrassed them, humiliated them, and beat them. Most importantly, and do you know what? Luca Dean put it better than anybody could have a few weeks ago, and maybe we should just always sign off every podcast with this. Another one.
Wind is calling my name, and I won't wait, or I'll never get on.